Because here's the thing, like I don't hold anything with that kind of certainty. I don't even know if certainty is a helpful word to use at all. You know?
Yeah.
This sort of binary, you know or you don't know, I don't think that's helpful. I don't even think it's worth talking about. I believe all sorts of things, that my wife's name is Cameron, that I was born in Sydney, that my father's name is Gary, that the Catholic Church is the true church. And yet, even though I know these things, I don't know any of them with incorrigible certainty, and I know them to different degrees of certainty. I'd be more willing to give up the fact, say, that I was born in Sydney, that my wife's name is Cameron, and so on. And yet, just because I have these varying degrees of what we could say is certainty, to use that word that I don't like, doesn't mean I don't have a right to hold them. And so, you know, do I know I have a left hand? Yeah. Well, do you know you have a left hand? Yes. But if what you're trying to make me say is, do you know with indubitable certain confidence, then it's like, no, but why think I should? See, this is this kind of Cartesian idea that I have to. And I think a good response is phenomenal conservatism. So rather than saying, I'm going to doubt everything until I have a good reason to believe something, you kind of say the opposite. You say, I'm going to accept what appears to be the case unless I've got good reason to abandon it. That just seems like how all human beings at all times have always lived.
Absolutely.
And that'll do.
Unless you want something to be wrong, then all of a sudden you put the hat on of Cartesian certainty and you demand absolute evidence. Like in the debate, Catholicism and Orthodoxy, and I don't think Ubi or Denny would do this, but it almost appears that when I'm talking to some Orthodox, some Protestants, they're happy accepting Eastern Orthodoxy on a phenomenological conservative viewpoint or Orthodox Protestant. But when it comes to the presentation for Catholicism, then they have a demand for absolute proof, not just to answer 9 out of the 10 questions, and not just to answer 10 out of the 10, but to answer it in such a way that I cannot make another hint of skepticism. Why do you demand that for something you really don't want to be true, but what you do hold to be true, you're happy to have it at lower levels of certainty? You see what I'm saying? Yeah, I do. So that's one of the reasons why I've changed a lot in the way. A lot of people get angry at me. They're like, Erick, I like what you're saying, but the thing is you make it out to be where Catholicism is not the only logical, crystal clear thing. And when you do that, you hurt me because you make me feel like I need to question. Like, well, no, see, your problem is, and I'm not sure, I don't say this like, oh, your problem. I say, but the problem is their expectations of what needs to be in order to have that confidence. And so they see me as a guy who's chipping away at their confidence because of what you just described, is they're expecting their certainty to rest on that kind of Cartesian absoluteness. And that's a really good point to bring up. Did you read anything or you just...
I know enough to be dangerous. Okay. You know a few things.
Right on it.
Well,
definitely.
I have.
Okay, good.
I have a Substack now.
Okay.
I wrote an article the other day and I said, well, if people say nice things, maybe I'll stick around and keep writing. So, no, I read a bunch of Descartes recently and I looked at his first argument for God's existence. I'm like, I don't buy it. I don't think it works. So now I'm back to the first rung, because I don't think Descartes was himself an epistemic skeptic. I think what he was trying to do was use doubt as a tool to show, because he lived in a turbulent time. There's the Protestant Reformation, there's Galileo, all the old authorities are being questioned. How do we know anything?
Right.
So I think he was actually trying to show, no, we can, by just like reflecting back on the self and building the epistemic tower as opposed to either relying on external authorities.
Right.
But I think it clearly failed.
Yes.
And,
that's a nightmare.
but I love him. Like, I love Descartes.
Sure.
And what's interesting, too, is a contemporary of Descartes is, of course, Blaise Pascal. And so when you factor in Like, because here's the other thing. Like, an atheist might say to me, well, you only believe in God because you're afraid of hell. I'm like, I don't think that's true, but fine. I'll just grant that. Sure. Maybe that's why I don't know how to give up belief in God. But, like, this phenomenal conservatism approach to belief in God is not a reason you should believe in God, but it seems to be a pretty good reason for why I believe in God, because that's how I believe in everything without exception.
Yeah. And then you have the wager.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, so what am I going to do? Like, maybe it's not within my power to not believe. I don't even know how I would do that. And if you said, well, then you're biased or you're not intellectually serious, sure, maybe that's true as well. But I'm still in the position where I don't know how to not believe this.
Yeah. Well, I think if you duplicate or clone the conditions for themselves, they would realize that they're on sinking sand. And that's what I think a lot of people are coming to realize, is that when you rest your certainties on that kind of caliber of proof that you need, it's sinking sand, because you start to realize, no, that's not there.
A few people that I read to answer your question. So one is obviously Descartes, bit of Hume, but then obviously Plantinga, Logan Gage, and then, so Logan Gage is a modern epistemologist who works at Franciscan. So too with Trent, I want to say Trent Doherty. Yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah, I haven't heard two of those guys before. So.
Yeah. But anyway, I made this point in my interview with Shapiro, this idea of our foundational beliefs. If you need an argument for every belief you hold, you won't hold any belief, because you would have to rely on an infinite regress of arguments to hold your first belief. Since that's not possible, there are necessarily things that we believe, not on arguments, but on the way things seem to us.
Yeah.
The external world is real. The past is real. Like, I don't know how to prove that to you.
Yeah.
Maybe it was created 5 minutes ago with the appearance of age. That's possible, and that would fit the data. But I don't have any good reason to believe that.
Right.
I don't have any compelling reason to think you're not real.
Right.
I mean, maybe you're a cyborg. I mean, AI is getting pretty sophisticated right now. Maybe you were sent back from the future. What the hell do I know? I don't know that, but I do know that, and I've got no reason to doubt it.
Right.
So if something seems to be the case to me, so it seems to be the case, there's no good reason to doubt it, and when I put it into effect, it works. Like when I put Christianity in my life into effect, I flourish. When I offer up my suffering, when I treat people as more important than me, when I don't kind of rest in my disgusting pride that wants to blame my wife when we get into an argument, but instead like humbly acknowledge where I've failed, say, things work. When I treat people like they were created in the image and likeness of God, when I treat myself that way, my life gets better. So the fact that it seems that way, the fact that I don't know any good arguments that contradict it, the fact that when I work this way, life seems to flourish, that'll do. Until it either doesn't work or there's a good argument against it, I'm just going to keep doing this.
Yeah, I wonder if this way of thinking is more native to how humans should think already. Because it sounds out of the box thinking. It sounds like it's out of the box thinking, but maybe it should be in the box thinking.
What I just said? Yeah. But this is how we believe every single thing. There's no thing that we believe.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's supposed to be in the box thinking. It sounds
fancy what I'm saying, right? Because we're talking about epistemology and phenomenal conservatism and some French dude.
But kids know this, yeah.
Of course, yeah. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, do us a favor, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of the video, like, and subscribe.